Looking good, Italian job.
I'm feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, brother?
Man, I am doing well. It is currently 80 degrees in Greensboro, North Carolina on February 23rd. So I have nothing to complain about. And you,
Freaking
my friend, just
bananas.
got back from the magical of most kingdoms.
Yeah, I did. We had a good trip with the family. We finally figured out how to do this whole thing and do it somewhat on a budget. I'll be honest with you, my king and queen were a little out of alignment over the past few days, but we're home. I'm back in the gloom, putting some work in. It was a great trip. Glad to be home, but it was a much needed reprieve from everything, all the things and responsibilities of that the world requires.
Yeah, they say somewhere that you can't out-queen your king. I don't think you can out-queen the mouse either. So well played. Glad you're
Yeah.
back to reality.
Aye. Aye.
Yeah, we had a big day. F3 Greensboro. I know a lot of regions across the country. Hashtag finish the run. Did the run for Ahmaud Arbery. So that was powerful. We had 35 guys at one of our AOs, another dozen or so at another AO. And so that was a meaningful start for the day here. And the Nantan Emeritus and our current Nantan are heading up the mountain tomorrow afternoon for a retreat. So that's going to be good too. So all sorts of exciting things happen in the F3 world. But that kind of leads me to our topic today. I'm excited. Once again, Slack came through and the guys out of Spring Hill, Tennessee, put out a really great idea. I would say borderline stuff you should definitely be doing, not even stuff worth trying, but definitely be doing or definitely be considering. So we'll dive into it. Typical Namerama. Kwame, we'll start with you, man. How'd you get your F3 name? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Eric Descamps, 48, Kwame. I was born in F3, Davidson, North Carolina, and
Just north of Charlotte.
That's right. And I'm from Detroit. So when they went to name me, they thought, well, let's not call him Eminem or Kid Rock. That might be too cool. What's the name of that former mayor that's in federal prison for embezzlement? Oh yeah, that would be Kwame Kilpatrick. So that's how I got my name of Kwame.
Outstanding. I believe it was your Slack post that I saw, and you immediately gave full credit for the idea of today's topic to Rudolph. So Rudolph, same thing. Name and Rama. How'd you get your F3 name?
Yeah, Chris Milam, 36, Rudolph. About 3 years ago, I had lunch with a former coworker who all of you know is Heidi, our Tennessee second Q. And he said, hey man, why don't you come work out this weekend? We're meeting up at 5:30 a.m. in a parking lot. And I thought, I got nothing else going on. So I came out, and after the workout, I shared that when I was a kiddo, I fell off a pogo stick on Christmas Eve, busted my nose wide open. So of course, Christmas Day, I looked just like Rudolph. So
Beautiful.
Nice. That could have gone a lot of different directions. I think
it could have gone a lot worse.
pretty
directions.
well with that one. You could have been, you'll shoot your eye out, or who knows what. How do the piggies eat? That sort of thing. Well done. Well, Kwame, I'll start the first question with you. Without burying the lead, you guys came up with this concept, or at least put it out on Slack, right? Of the idea of a Site Q summit. So a gathering of the minds, leading the leaders, that sort of thing. What was the impetus of that idea, and what led you to gathering your crew together in that way?
Yeah, so what we were experiencing really as an SLT group was just a lot of internal complaining, just from PAX members just not really understanding the kind of the culture that we have tried to build in Spring Hill, and through a few times just not really having anything specifically written down. We thought, well, we should put something together. There's nobody that's going to teach these guys the culture if not us. So we've got to figure out some way of getting that through to the PAX.
Go ahead, IJ.
I was just going to say, the Tommy boy, I think you and I probably would agree on this. The site queue, in my opinion, is probably the most important job in a region. And I say that because the site queue is not only planting a flag, he's the guy who gets the information from the FNGs. He's the guy who welcomes a guy. It's not every workout that the Nantan, the Weasel Shaker, the rest of the SLT is in attendance, but the site queue is going to be at the site every day that it's at his site. So to kind of level set with the guys, what are the struggles? What are the things that are going well? What do we need to talk about as a group? What if we're seeing some problems? What can we address? Talking to the site queue sets the whole temperature and barometer for the entire region. So I love the concept of a site queue summit where guys can talk about what their frustrations are, but more importantly, they can talk about, the direction the region's going. And they're level setting and understanding what's happening over here should be happening over here. There should be some consistency and expectations. So that's why I was excited about seeing that Site Q Summit, because it's a level setting of expectations.
Yeah, Kwame,
I saw you raise your hand.
Kwame, I appreciate what you said too, in the form of you caught yourself complaining, right? And it's one of the most important things I've ever heard is when I would complain, somebody called me out and would say, what did that person say when you told them that? Right. So this accountability level of, well, don't tell me, you can vent to me if you want, but that's only going to go so far. If you want to fix or the problem or solve the opportunity or create an opportunity, you got to go tell that guy what you just told me. So I appreciate that you went the next step and gathered everybody. Rudolph, what were some of the things, or Kwame, I'll let you finish up, and then I want to dive into Rudolph. Just generally speaking, what were some of the things that you spotted that could have been potential problems that you guys turned into potential opportunities? But Kwame, did you have something you wanted to wrap up with?
Yeah, just the fact that, we're complaining, and like you said, it does no good to just complain about something, and really we're complaining about things that the site queues didn't know because they were never told. So here we are we just had to shift our mindset as an SLT group to look at it as, how are we going to leave a legacy? How are we going to continue on with the culture that we've tried to build unless we pass it on? So we took it as, owned up to it and said, this is on us. We're the ones who have to make this change. So yeah, Rudolph was instrumental in making that happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting. When I started in this role of first F lead, it was about a year ago. The group of site queues that were in place at that time was a very different group of people than we have today. I think just about everyone has rolled over, right? Someone new has taken over, and we've added several sites. So there's been a lot of change. And, I think one of the things I took for granted when I started serving in this role is everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone, someone else on the SLT has taken it upon themselves to instruct the site queues about what all their job roles and responsibilities are. So I don't have to worry about that. And I think over time, one of my blind spots was, when these new folks come on, I'm offering to help them. I'm saying, let me know if I can help. Here's some of the basic things, but I may not be equipping them to succeed. I may not be informing them of all of the things that they really need to accelerate and to build their unique site into their own site that is differentiated from the other sites. So one of the things that so yes, Kwame, you and I both, I think, took that upon ourselves to say, this is something that we can do a better job of. Let's figure it out. Let's put something together. One of the things that we noticed specifically was, I think we have 3 or 4 categorizations for our sites. We've got running sites, body weight, boot camp, workout sites. We've got rucking sites, and then just weighted sites, right? So folks are bringing sandbags, kettlebells, whatever. And several months ago, we did give some guidelines that, try to stick to what your site is and try not to deviate from that. But I think that we got a little relaxed on that over time, and we stopped pushing that message. So we did have some folks that, showed up to one site that was labeled as one kind of workout, and it ended up being something totally different, running at a workout, etc. And we realized, hey, when people come to these 5:30 a.m. workouts, they know what they want to do. They have a pretty good idea of showing up with a certain fitness goal in mind. So let's try to honor that, and let's be true to that. So when we took that message and said, hey, this is a chance for all the site queues to meet a need. Each of these packs is showing up with a specific need, a goal. You can help them with that. I think that really connected with a lot of the site queues.
Yeah, I think we've all been to workouts before where it goes sideways real quick, right? You're showing up, you've got your running shoes on, and suddenly you're throwing around cinder blocks, and you wonder how that happened, and vice versa too, right? And it, look, let's be clear. It's always good to be pushed outside of our limits. And when you show up, like you said, to a 5:30 workout and you're expecting a running workout, that's what you're prepared for. Throwing a curveball in that fashion can go horribly wrong really quick. And
Yeah,
so
and Tommy
it's good to
Boy,
talk through that.
I'll interject and say that I love your point of it's good to push yourself, because at the same time, I'm all about getting folks outside of their comfort zone. And we actually specifically, communicated to our site queues, it is okay to do this. It is okay to switch gears and, let's bring a ruck out to one of our body weight workouts every now and then to see if we can push ourselves. Let's do a Murph with a vest on when you might normally not. But the key is let's communicate that ahead of time, right? And let's make sure that we're all on the same page about it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. When I cue a workout that's going to be a little bit different from what's normally required at that workout. Let's say I go to a boot camp workout, but I tell the guys in advance on Slack, I'll say, we're going to run a minimum of 3 miles. It's basically going to be running with burpees, but that lets the guys know, do I want to go? Do I want to push myself, or do I want to go to another AO? Because the last thing I would want is for someone to show up with an expectation of a certain level of workout. It's like if you have a moderate boot camp that guys are recovering from injury and it's more of a moderate style. Why would you come with a black diamond workout? It doesn't fit the need. So if you are going to go a little bit off of what is the expectation, to tell the guys in advance so they can either attend, they can modify as necessary, and if they're going to need gear, to tell them in advance. So if you are going to modify, it's good to tell the guys in advance. That way there are no surprises and you're not having to deal with guys who are frustrated. That can turn a workout sideways quickly.
Yeah, and we're growing so fast right now that we have basically all those types of workouts almost every day. We'll have a body weight, we'll have a run. So yeah, to mix that up when you've already got the variety there, it was just it rubbed some people the wrong way, threw some people off. And again, like you said, we can push out of our comfort zone, but just got to be aware of that kind of stuff ahead of time, especially because you're also dealing with potential F&Gs coming out there, and they came out specifically because this is a run today, I can do that. And then they come out, and if it's their first time and you've thrown, cinder blocks at them, maybe they're not coming back.
That's a colossal one and done right there. You guys both hinted at it as well. The guys that were currently serving in the role of a site Q came out and learned a lot, which I think is awesome. That right there is a huge success for calling the group together. What were some of the things that they walked away with that you might want to share with anybody tuning in?
Yeah. So I'll share some things, and then I think, Kwame, after I share, it may be good for you to talk about some of the culture things that we chatted about. But one of the things, which this is more table stakes and maybe not as exciting, but really important. And it was just, what is your responsibility as the site Q before the workout, during the workout, and after the workout? And shocker, a lot of the work is before the workout even happens, right? It's making sure people are scheduled to queue. It's making sure that we pre-blast everything in Slack or online, making sure that, that whoever is queuing, especially if it's a VQ, first time queue, has what they need. You're showing up early, making sure folks are comfortable, know how to get there. And then during and after, we have a bullet list of stuff we can put into the show notes, I'm sure. But yeah, making sure that the site queues are just equipped to pull this thing off and the mechanics of the site work successfully. And the cool thing about that is we're finding that once our site queues internalize that and learn that, it becomes second nature. They just do it automatically. And that frees them up to pay more attention to some of the culture things that Kwame will talk about.
Yeah, and this, it's also important to understand that this is, this is a living document, right? This is it's subject to change, and recently, health, safety issues have come up, and so we've added that to it, right? So anytime you're leaving, here's a specific example. Anytime you're leaving the AO and going off site somewhere, making sure everybody has some sort of reflective gear, or a headlamp or something of that nature. Also, there's been talks recently about, having somebody that is certified in CPR. Like, is there a way that we can utilize that to make each of the workouts more safe for everybody? But above and beyond that, like Rudolph said, we had some culture stuff that we like to talk about, and we feel are fairly unique to our region, and we want to pass that along. We tend to stay away from, the bro culture, the one-upping, any real negative energy. We just, as a region, we tend to be to lean towards being encouraging, and that's kind of something that we like to maintain. So that's something that we wanted to keep going. Also, we do things specifically like a moleskin at the end of COT, where we just talk about something that is on our heart as the cue. And again, it's moments of encouragement to pass on to people to take throughout their day. And it's something that we've always, mentioned as optional, but I mean, 99% of the times guys are going to share something, whether it is something based on their faith or something that they just want to encourage packs with for the day. Those are the sort of things that we wanted to make sure passed on, well beyond when we are done serving as, on our time as SLT.
Yeah, that's
Sounds to me like
really
you're talking
important.
legacy.
Yeah, that's right. Laying the groundwork for the next 43 feet, right? I think we've kind of touched on why is this worth trying. It's setting that culture, it's and the expectations, but it's to help develop future leaders. And that's our goal here. It's to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men for the invigoration of male community leadership. That last tag, invigorate male community leadership, and the site Q, and that's kind of the responsibility. So we talked about why it's worth trying. And you talked about some stuff that guys brought forward. How was it received by the site Qs? Was this something they were like, I'm glad we did this, we should do this more often, I hated it? I mean, what kind of feedback did you get from your site Qs?
Yeah, I mean, definitely right off the bat, kind of just an informal poll. And just to understand, this was not some massive deal that we put together. I mean, we borrowed one of the packs' his business meeting room, conference room. We brought in a couple of pizzas and some Miller High Life, and we had
The champagne
we just
beers.
had that's right. And it was a little bit over an hour that we took out of their time, and it was, these guys, so on their way out, just kind of took an informal poll and, hey, there's something like this. Did you learn anything? Was it valuable to you? Number one thing we were talking about ahead of time as we were putting this together is, let's make this time valuable for the guys. It's not just another second F event or anything like that. Let's make it valuable. And I think to a T, I think everybody was saying, again, not only did they learn something about the role, but just appreciated it. And really a lot of the things that they were thinking were things that they were responsible for. They were able to confirm that, solidly with us having this summit.
Yeah, and I would even go so far as to say that we learned a lot. I had a couple of folks that came up to me after and said, thank you, and this was great, and have you thought about this? And and they were great points, and we actually incorporated that into our guidelines. And it was a great example, I think, as the SLT, to remember that we're trying to lead from humility here and take the feedback of the folks that we're partnering with. And it was just a great experience from both perspectives, I think.
Yeah, judging by the photographs and the pictures alone, it seemed like the guys were really engaged. I mean, from a body language perspective, guys were leaning in to whomever was speaking in the pictures. You've got them dialed in, and so it's just like a workout. If you're going to get me out at 5:30 in the morning, don't waste my time. If you're going to bring me to an event where you're going to pour into your packs, don't waste their time either, right? It's an opportunity for everybody to accelerate together, which is the whole point of what we're trying to achieve here. So yeah, I go back to the original statement. I would underscore this as not even something worth trying, but something worth looking into and stealing and making it your own for your region. Because if not us, who, right? If not now, when? And the fact that you guys got this dialed in and unlocked a whole bunch of dudes that thought that their only job was to plant a flag and pick it up before they went home, right? Turns out that they're really the glue that binds these different packs and these different regions together. They create the secret sauce and they give the recipe away and the pre-blast, right? And they keep guys coming back. So that's phenomenal. And countless other things, right? Let's be honest. So we will definitely link your items in the show notes. We've also got out of Katy, Texas, the Triangle of Trust idea. That's going to be linked in there. Guys, if you're looking for a template to set up queue expectations, site queue expectations and site queue tips, rather, is a better way to put it. That's all in stuffworthtrying.com as well. You can type any of those words into the search bar. It'll take you right to where you want to go. Kwamé, any kind of final thoughts coming from your standpoint on this process?
Yeah, I think like what Rudolph was talking about, we learned some stuff too. And, depending on how long your particular region has site queues stay in that role, it would probably determine the cadence of how often you have these type of meetings. For us, it's approximately 12 months or a year. So we were talking about doing this as an annual event moving forward. And just also don't forget these guys, a lot of times I'd mentioned this to Rudolph and to some other guys, but when some of these guys are leading for the first time as a site queue, not only in F3, but maybe in their life. Maybe they haven't had a role in work or anything like that with leadership and responsibilities. So this is kind of we look at it as a stepping stone for sure. Next step after a site queue is going to be most likely, potentially as an SLT member and potentially a Nantan of a region. So, we did post that afterwards as well and just said, look, if you are interested in, continuing to lead or leading, we wanted to do this not only for the current site queues, but put this together for the next batch of site queues that are coming up next, so they have a kind of a running start when they get going. So.
How about you, Rudolph? Any kind of final thoughts other than stay away from pogo sticks on Christmas?
No pogo sticks, not even on your birthday. I would say, I think that the majority of men who are stepping into this kind of leadership role want to be here. And what I've observed is that when we equip them with this kind of information and these kinds of tools to be successful, they will celebrate it, they will step into it, and they'll run with it. So I view this as, giving something to our site queues to help them with something that they are already interested in doing. And so far, I've just seen folks grab this and take off with it.
Outstanding. IJ, I'm going to put it on you, Mr. Disney. Any final thoughts from your travels or your downtime? I know you were busy kicking out an issue even while you're away of News of the Nation, but anything you want to wrap up with that is worth celebrating or pointing out?
I could talk about the reason we train and why we train, because there will come a day when you have to carry bags or you have to carry the kids or you have to do all these different things. We forget that sometimes. We get so caught up in doing the burpees and doing the Merkins and how many miles can we cover. But what we're training for is leading our families, leading in our communities. So why do we walk around with a bunch of weight on our back for who knows how long? Well, there will come a day when you have to carry the bags at the airport. There will come a day when you might have to carry the kids. But I think the way I want to close it out is a quote from Ted Lasso. We are Lasso guys. You and I both love us some Ted Lasso. Yes, and he said, I feel like we fell out of the lucky tree and hit every branch on the way down, ended up in a pool of cash and Sour Patch Kids. Tommy boy, I'm going to go on a limb and say that the F3 men around this nation are not just lucky, but are blessed. that we're surrounded by a handful of guys on every morning that care for us, that support us, who want us to be stronger. And man, I'll tell you what, falling out of that lucky tree and hitting every branch on the way down and ending up in a pool of, cash and Sour Patch Kids, that's pretty much every morning in the gloom. So thank you, Kwame. Thank you, Rudolph, for being with us today, sharing us a little bit about your PsychQ Summit. Because man, as you like to say, Tommy Boy, this is free. It's ours to give it away. And that type of information that you guys are sharing is something that another region might try out and might see some great value in it. So thank you for carving out some time with us today. Listeners, thanks for listening to it. Another episode. We'll do it again next week. Tommy Boy, I'm going to toss it back to you, man, because you've got that righteous beard that I can't compete with. And I figure if the guys aren't watching on YouTube, which they can, if they're not watching, they can at least listen to the dulcet sounds of Tommy Boy closing us out. So back to you, brother.
I'll rub it on the microphone. Now, fellas, real short and simple. Follow the lead of Spring Hill. Find the need, fill a need. And in the meantime, just be good or be good at it. Love you, fellas.
Love you, man.